Hi, welcome to 6LASS Curriculum Night. I am Miss Starks, and a little bit more about me is that I'm originally from Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and so I've only been in Washington for about a year now. I graduated in Cornell College, not the university, in May of 2020, and got a bachelor's of special studies in social studies education, which is sociology and secondary education combined. So this is my second year teaching. I got to start my first year in a pandemic, which was wild. And so I'm really excited to be back in person in full force and learning alongside of your students. A little bit about language arts this year is that we will be primarily focused on writing and reading. And for our writing, we're going to be doing a lot of narrative, our first trimester with some personal essays and on-demand writing sprinkled in. For reading, it'll be literature short stories, and we'll also have our independent novel study, which will go throughout the entire year. We'll also do some excerpts from contemporary and classical literature and some nonfiction texts as well. For Trimester Two, we're primarily focused on argumentative and expository essays and doing some more literary analysis with our novels Red Scarf Girl and The Giver. We'll also do more informational reading and again have excerpts from different texts. Trimester Three is a lot of poetry and more expository essays. We'll be reading March Volume 1 and doing a graphic novel literary circle, which will be a choice for the students. We'll look at more poetry and again, it's just some more informational texts to supplement in there. In terms of objectives for language arts, we're really focused on students learning how to write and narrate and form arguments that are focused on ideas, structure, and conventions. We're looking to examine and analyze complex texts and literature and engage effectively in speaking and listening, both collaboratively and also independently as a group. For social studies, we have a jam-packed year with trimester 1 focused on archaeology, fossils, artifacts, and those really early civilizations and the origin of culture and civilization itself. Big date ranges, general ideas and concepts, and a lot of map skills and geography. That's our main focus for trimester 1. For trimester 2, it's early African civilizations like Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt. And we'll be doing a lot of project-based learning and along with continuing our map skills and geography. And then trimester 3 is Empires of Asia, which will be ancient India, ancient China. We'll look at the rise of Rome and also ancient Greece and keep working on our inquiry skills. For social studies objectives, we are looking to gain an enduring understanding about the geography of ancient civilizations and how they teach us about ourselves and the world, and also learn how humans adapted to their environment constantly, understand how the availability or scarcity of resources affected culture development, recognize how systems of power, authority, and governance established order and then and now, and engage in discussions and debate and address multiple perspectives on public issues. One thing to note about LA and SS and IMS in general is that we are shifting our mindset with grades. And so looking more about grades as a level of mastery in content rather than overall behavior and participation and content within grades. So one thing is a big takeaway that students are not graded on their behavior. All late work is accepted for my class through the end of the trimester for full credit. No points will be taken off. Participation, communication, student actions, and how they're doing in class behavior-wise is not considered within the grade, though it is monitored and making sure that we're doing what we need to be doing in class. Students' grades they're graded on standards. And so specific language arts and social studies standards are focused on in class, and they adhere to and follow right along with Washington state standards. And there will be multiple standards throughout each unit that we'll be assessing on throughout the entire year. So we may see a standard in a couple of different units, and I'll explain a little bit more what I mean by that in the coming months. And you'll see that on Skyward. And also students can redo any of their assignments that they turn into me as long as it's done within that trimester. Again, we're looking at grades as a level of mastery of the content and rather of, their overall doing in school. And so I like to compare levels to like video games, and level 1, you're kind of beginning the topic or the standard. When you get to level 2, you're approaching being proficient in it. You're a little bit more advanced than a level 1, but you still have some deficiencies or some lacking in detail or accuracy that we need to kind of clean up before we get to a level 3, which is being proficient at standard. And so we're really striving for that level 3 with all of the standards in class to make sure they're right where they need to be in terms of Washington State goals. Being at a level 4 means you're exceeding that standard, you're mastering the standard. And while we want students to potentially be masters in everything, we know that that's not the case. We want to push them to be their best selves in the areas they want to be best in, and then that may not include all of the standards. So we're really striving for that level 3, and if we can push them to a level 4, then we'll get them there. But again, we're really, really striving for that level 3. That's where we want them to be and need them to be. And the students will probably not be all 4s in all of the areas all of the time. They may start at a level 1 and we'll see them, progress through all the levels, or they may even be starting at a level 3, but it's okay to start at the beginning with a lot of these standards because they might have never seen them before. Homework for class. Basically 95% of the work will be doing will be completed in class. If a student is unable to finish their work within the given class time for whatever reason, then it will become homework, but really we'll have enough class time for students to finish their work, and it will be more of a question of they were using their time efficiently. Time in class for an assignment past the due date is not guaranteed. So if it's late work, we probably will not have time to make up that in class. And again, that will be considered homework at that point. And then otherwise, homework is rarely given unless absolutely necessary. This is kind of what LA and SS will look like in terms of our schedule. So we start with LA, and then students stay with me either for period 1 and 2, or they're here for 4 and 5. And so they don't have to leave in between classes. So what we'll do is we get settled into class, we do an attendance question, then we have time for independent reading every day. And then we have a class meeting, and our classroom is set up on a democratic classroom principle where it's a lot of student choice and voice. And so students have come up with their group norms and expectations, and they all have class jobs that they have applied for and received. And so they'll do, morning news, or they do class clown joke stuff, or we talk about our Constitution and if we need to update amendments or take out amendments or talk about behavior stuff. But really that's their time to discuss with each other if we have any issues or problems or fun stuff that we need to discuss during that time. Then after that, we will move into curriculum content for language arts, wherever we are at in the year. Then we take a 10-minute break for social studies, and we will do a current events and media bias, either news article, video, podcast, and we'll scan that current event for any media bias, which we're working on how to scan and figure out right now in class. And then after we do our current events for the day, then we'll move on to curriculum content for social studies, wherever we are at in the year. This is a largely discussion-based class. We do a lot of reflecting, writing, partner and group work on projects. We'll look at videos, we do polls, links on different websites, web quests. We read novels, textbooks, articles, documentaries. We kind of cover the bases with all things instructional here in class. So we'll be doing a lot of different stuff and hopefully allow students to display their knowledge in a lot of different ways, which will be really fun. Key skills for student success. Basically, making sure that we're checking the Schoology calendar and their messages often and using their class time efficiently. We want to endorse a growth mindset, that we're here to learn and grow, and it is more than okay to fail. That's where we're going to find our most successes, is from failing, and our most growth. We also want to be active learners and self-advocate, and that's going to be something that we learn a lot this year. And so if a strategy isn't working or something's not working with our learning, we're going to try different things. And sometimes that means doing something different than your peers, and that's okay, because learning is not one size fits all. And we're really kind of pushing that and understanding that it's okay to do something different, and it's okay to advocate for yourself and what you need in class, and it's going to be great. Just to recap for language arts and social studies, just remembering that students are our true north, and they really are what we're focusing on. And so things come up for students, classes and assignments are missed for whatever reason, and that's okay. And we're flexible, and we are all learning and navigating this new world that we are living in. And so again, if things come up, communicate with me, preferably on the end of the student. They can use Schoology messages or email me at the email below, and they all know how to reach me on Schoology messages or email. And communicating is super, super huge and a big skill that we're going to learn this year. And things are, again, they come up, and they're more than okay if we need to be flexible with them. But yeah, I hope that clarified a little bit more about what we were doing in language arts and social studies this year. And I am super, super over the moon excited to be with your students and to get them, back on track and thinking critically about the world around us, and read some really, really great books. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I will have a follow-up questionnaire ready for you to answer if you want to. But thanks so much. Have a great night.